There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store, or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today.
Maui Nui is on a mission to help balance axis deer populations for the good of our environment, communities, and food systems on the island of Maui. They've shared over 126,000 pounds of nutrient-dense protein with the Maui community. Secure your spot now. Become a Snack subscriber and join in helping to build more resilient food and ecosystems on Maui. Visit MauiNuiVenison.com. That's MauiNui venison.com and use promo code BEAR for 20% off your first order. Sport Dog is the most recognized brand in the hunting dog training industry. The Sport Dog promise to customers is simple: gear the way you design it. Every product Sport Dog builds is meticulously designed and rigorously tested in the field, ensuring it withstands the toughest conditions you and your dog may encounter. Using tracking equipment on my squirrel and coon dogs is extremely important to me. Get 20% off your first purchase using the code BEARGREASE. Go to www.sportdog.com/beargrease to learn more. My name is Clay Newcomb, and this is a production of the Bear Grease podcast called the Bear Grease Render, where we render down, dive deeper, and look behind the scenes of the actual Bear Grease podcast. Presented by FHF Gear, American-made, purpose-built hunting and fishing gear that's designed to be as rugged as the places we explore. Welcome to the Bear Grease Render. My, oh my, man, today is different than probably anything we've ever done. Usually, Casey and Tyler, we have, spoiler alert, usually we have like 6 people on the Bear Grease Render. 6 people, which is a lot of fun. But you guys are so much fun that there's only 3 of us here.
Well, we can eat enough for 6 people.
That's right, man.
You know?
It just means we've got it rendered down to the purity. You know what I mean? Like it's.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. It's milky white.
I have no doubt that you guys could eat enough chips and salsa. Okay, if you don't know Casey Smith, Tyler Jones of The Element.
Appreciate it.
They are from Texas. Man, I enjoy watching Casey eat chips and salsa. To me, it's like watching somebody ride a good pleasure horse through an arena. You know, just kind of like a thing of beauty, or watching a marathon runner stride through mile 12.
It's the first time I've been compared to a marathon runner, I believe, ever. So it makes good sense.
But when you hammered out on chips and salsa, it's like I feel joy.
Yeah. So it's the same thing I feel whenever you eat, oatmeal or whatever. What is it? Granola. That's what you eat a lot of, right?
Yeah.
So,
man, hey, a man's gotta stick to his guns on his diet when he travels. That's the one thing I've learned in my traveling over the last decade is, man, if you break the routine much, you won't have a routine at all.
Yeah. Guarantee you.
You know what? When I was with, I spent a little bit of time with Will Primos, and what you wouldn't know about Will Primos just from watching him kill elk and call and love turkey hunting is that he is an extreme man of discipline. And wherever he goes and does his own grocery shopping and eats his own food in camp. I took note of that. I was like, that takes some dedication because it's hard.
We have to make food for like 5 people when we go places. So we eat our own food and make food for everybody else.
10 pounds of ground taco meat. A pot of enchiladas.
6 gallons of salsa.
That's
Dude,
right.
I'm telling
No,
you.
I want to introduce everybody to my guests. This is Casey Smith and Tyler Jones of The Element. The Element is what's the Element? Y'all tell me what the Element is.
It's what we're living in, man.
That's
Just living in
right,
our
man.
element here, you know.
Go for it, Mr. Puns.
So the element is pretty much everything that Tyler and I do, and we've got some help with Greg and Eric and Michael. We video all of our hunts. We have a sort of weekly podcast. I kind of say that jokingly. We get that out pretty much on the week, and it's kind of a chronicle of our stories, our hunts, and just we try to share the knowledge that we accumulate by hunting so much. You know, we try to we're not experts at things, and you know, I feel like it's pretty I don't know, it's not a good thing to consider yourself an expert of anything, but I like to say we have a lot of experience, so we try to share what we experience with other people, and hopefully we can all learn to be better hunters together through that. So that's kind of what the element is, and it's just I don't know what we had a video series on Meat Eater last year called Buck Truck, and I think the intro for that is me talking real short and sweet. Say 2 buddies hopping a pickup, travel the country hunting deer, and that is about near what we are, mixed in with about 20% Bible study throughout all that as well.
It started with fishing, you know. I mean, that's what was is kind of funny, you know. So we just like doing it all, kind of like you, man, or old Brent Reeves. You know, we just like doing being outdoors, and if there's something to chase or catch or find, we're doing it, man.
Yeah. So you guys are colleagues of mine. You work for Meat Eater, which you've done for the last year. Is that about right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, close to it.
Man, what's it been like working for Meat Eater?
It's different, that's for sure. You know, I actually have
Because y'all were entrepreneurs. Y'all had your own business, did all your own stuff, had this YouTube channel, podcast called The Element, Travels and Hunted, and then now you work for Meat Eater.
Well,
Yeah. There's
try
cool
to-
Pretty
things.
cool.
Yeah, we try to remain just true to who we've always been. And that's kind of difficult whenever you have outside influences of things, but then at the same time, it's nice to be able to collaborate and put together some good thoughts and some minds and some different experiences from around the country, and just make sure you can kind of refine what we have been doing. And that's essentially kind of, I mean, man, outside of like having a bigger network and, you know, quite honestly, a boss, like not a lot has changed for what we do. You know, we still operate this thing essentially how we want to, and, you know, just pursue having the most fun that we can.
Yep.
That's legal for, you know, a couple guys to do.
Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of what I was getting at in a way, is that I feel like you guys coming into Meat Eater really hasn't changed a lot of what you want. And that's what they were, just to peek, you know, crack the veil back just a little bit. I mean, I feel like that's what Meat Eater did for me, is they said, hey, you be you and do what you do and do what you're passionate about, but just work for us.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's an ideal situation. And I feel like that's what's from outside looking in. I feel like that's what's happened with you guys, is that they've just kind of broadened your horizons, but you guys are still who you were before.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, that's what that's the same kind of thing we had in discussions going, you know, prior to this was, you know, can we continue to just be who we are, because that's what we want to be, man. That's honest, you know, and that's what we want, is honesty in what we do, and so I mean, it hasn't changed a whole lot of what we do outside of the fact that I got to really take care of receipts, you know. But you know,
That is the biggest problem with corporate America.
I guarantee you.
Receipts.
Golly, yeah. And it's because is yours because you don't like touching them because of the radiation? That's mine. You know, like those those heat print receipts, man. That's what's giving us all melanoma.
Yeah, that's right.
That's tough. Every time I am on a work trip and buy a coffee at a gas station, and the person does not give me a receipt, and I go, "Hey, could I have a receipt?"
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they think that I think that they cheated me.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh." So there's a lot of personal drama involved in receipts, man.
Guarantee you, I almost bought a drink with cash this morning because I didn't want to have to ask for the receipt.
Oh yeah, dude. Sometimes it's not worth it.
That's tough. That's tough.
Dude, the worst part is we all got accustomed to this, I'm speaking to an elder millennial here with Clay Newcomb, but you still fall in the category, right? Like we were around for the transition of prepay to just pay at the pump, right? And so we love pay at the pump for a gas station. I like being able to just make a quick stop on the road and just go, I have a large bladder for a medium-sized man, so I don't have to use the bathroom too much.
Not me.
And so, I can
me.
just pay at the pump and go, and then guarantee you, more often than not, the receipt machine don't work on the pump, and you got to go inside after all this, and then you end up seeing a package of peanuts you want. It just ain't good.
It sounds like a first world problem, but when you travel for a living, I mean, it's pretty tough to you're losing 10 minutes of your life at a time every week or whatever.
Every 400 miles.
Yeah, that's
guarantee you.
Man. Problems.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well,
but it's been
I
good,
look
Clay.
forward to the day when there's so much surveillance in our country that just you just go to a gas pump and just get gas, and it just knows who you are already, knows your bank account already.
Oh, goodness.
And knows where you work for already, and you just just everything's just all automated.
Hey, we're there, man. I just got an email from ornithology. Ornithology, is that how you say it?
Yeah. Cornell Institute.
Cornell Institute. And literally 20 minutes before that, KC and I were having a big bird conversation with another guy. So they're already there. They're listening, man. They know.
Yeah.
No, I hope y'all know that I was kidding about my surveillance thing.
Oh, I know.
Hey, let me go ahead and just for people who wouldn't be familiar with you guys, I want to introduce you even further to the Bear Grease audience as that. Hey, these guys right here are some serious deer hunting machines, and I don't throw that kind of stuff around lightly. I really don't. I mean, I think in a brotherhood, compliments are earned. They're not just guaranteed. And
I'm just glad you didn't say serious conspiracy theorists, because that's what I thought you were fixing
well,
to
I
say.
mean, y'all are
You could say that.
I know we're all into that.
Yeah.
But no, Casey and Tyler are really good hunters, and y'all have really had a lot of success, and the proof's in the pudding of what you guys are doing. And I was able to hunt with y'all for a week last year in Arkansas, and it was a really unique experience for me because
Us too, don't get me wrong.
you guys are crazy because you guys are absolutely nuts. I tell people all the time. I tell people, really, I told somebody this week, I said, man, I hunted with the Element guys. And I said, we hunted 6 days, morning and evening, 6 days. And I said, those guys never sat in the same tree twice.
Yep.
And I, because we were in a boat, we were hunting by boat. I'd kind of just submitted myself to, I'm just going to do this the way these guys do it. My instinct would have been to, and just the way I've done things. I mean, I don't even know if it's an instinct. It's just the way I think about whitetail hunting is, you would go to a spot and you'd sit there probably 2 or 3 sits at least, just give it a chance to work itself out. Or heck, even dig in longer and sit there longer than that. And you guys were like, "No, man, we're gonna move a bunch," and really, what I feel like you were doing is, and probably do a lot of is capitalize on the first time sits.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you're traveling around, let me tell you guys something about yourself, okay? let me explain y'all to you, okay?
All right.
No, the other thing is that y'all do something that I don't always do. I'm most of my whitetail hunting is local, and I'm going to places that I go to all the time and have gone to for a long time. And you guys are going into new areas, new places, and have very short time frames to hunt. So you've got to turn up the knob, the volume of concern, or you've got to be kind of extreme in a way. Like you can't be conservative. Like if you're going to the same 160-acre property for 15 hunts between October 1st and November 15th, like you kind of have to dial back the aggression because you're going to burn out your spots. You're going to bump your deer, and you may already know kind of what's going on. You show up at some place you've never been to. You've only seen it on OnX. You got to be aggressive, and you got to take a bunch of risk. And boy, that it seems to really pay off sometimes. And I'm sure sometimes you strike out or sometimes you mess something up, but then you just go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, would you say that's a pretty good descriptor of the way y'all hunt?
Yeah. I mean, it for sure is. I think that there's a lot of calculations that may go under the radar when we're hunting with somebody, but one thing that, I mean, we certainly have like a pretty good degree of aggression in our sits and those kind of things, but it also is very dependent upon like what we've got going in the area, because you don't want to,
Sure.
if you got one spot that hunts on a north wind in that area, you don't want to blow it out if you got to drive an hour and a half to get to another spot that hunts on a north wind. So, and a lot of that aggressiveness comes through like a freedom that we have from scouting all summer on X, on the maps. So we're able to have a pretty good idea what things are going to kind of look like and what's going to work for us going in. And we have a lot of commonalities too. There's some things that we do different and think about different, but like the one thing that we do have in common that really helps us to be effective the most is that we are pretty, I think, at least, I feel like it's weird kind of saying this about myself, but we're fairly selfless in the way we look at how we take spots and how we hunt and these kind of things.
You got to be whenever
You
you're
have to be.
partner hunting.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just that's really, I mean, there's more about this, Clay, but I won't elaborate. But this foundationally, that's where we are in kind of what we think and what we believe. So we don't ever really hardly ever argue about anything too much anymore. I mean, getting used to each other early on, is a thing, but like we never hardly, like if there's a spot somebody wants to go to, I mean, we almost like nobody will take it. You know what I mean? It's like, oh no, you go over there. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
I got another spot over here, and you just, okay, well, are you really saying that?
That's right.
Or is that
It gets to the point where you're trying to figure out like, hey, this is what I want, where I want to go the worst, but are you avoiding that spot because I want to go there,
Yep.
and so, you kind of come full circle on the thing, but I talk about this quite a bit, but I preach against pride all the time, man. Like, you can't have, like, any level of pride or I don't want to say self-confidence, but, like, because that's good when it comes to hunting, but, like,
self-ambition?
yeah, exactly. Self-ambition, right? Was it James 3:5? Isn't that what it was that you said?
Yeah, something like
that.
is it into James 3 or something. Yeah.
And so, like, if you're doing this thing and your common goal is for everyone to have a great time and hunt deer and be successful, like, the thing that Tyler and I do that I cherish is that we can look at a spot that we've never been to or that we have, either way, and just shoot a bunch of holes in the bottom of the boat for about 5 or 10 minutes and come out with the best possible plan. And I think it's like key to success for us, man.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, if one person shoots a deer, I actually killed a deer on Texas public land the other day, about a week ago or so.
Mm-hmm.
And, KC was like, I just listened to him straight up because he went in and hung this camera and wasn't able to go on that hunt that particular night. And he was like, hey, the deer do this. There's 2 thickets here. They travel this way. They're going to hit a scrape on the edge of that transition in between the 2 thickets. And the wind, is just going to be a matter of wind. And I went in there and I played the wind where it was just off and was able to get into a tree based off of that and like killed a deer, because I just straight up listened to KC, and that's kind of that's that thing that really there's a big common theme in whitetail hunting the last few years, and maybe it's going away a little bit, but especially when we were getting started, there was this lone wolf mentality, and right. And it's very prideful. It's very much like I can do this and I want to do it, and I'm going to do it my way, and I don't need anybody to help me. When really everybody's going out there to shoot a deer. We're hunting. We're not nature walking. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if you want to shoot a deer, sometimes it's okay to listen to your friend and just be like, "That was fun. That was fun." You know what I mean? And if you want it a different way, next time you can do it too. But anyway, I just think that it's way better thing to have, your buddies helping each other out. It makes camp way more fun, man.
Yeah, man. And you got to have some discernment too, and keep good friends and good hunting buddies that are going to make some good decisions for you, or at least I ain't gonna name any names, but we might have a friend somewhere in this world who might not actually have the best advice, but I'll still listen to him, and hunt with him and hang out. But you kind of got to figure out who you can count on, that kind of stuff too. But that doesn't mean you can't count on that individual as a person. Those are two different things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a really cool perspective, and I saw that in action with you guys, and like when I saw y'all have had a really good fall this year, and heck, even I just said it. I said y'all have had a really good fall. Well, Tyler's killed 3 deer. Is that right?
Yep. That's right.
And in my mind, when I hear one of you have killed a deer, it's like y'all are the same person. Like it's like they got one.
It's weird, dude. It's like a married couple, man.
That's it.
It's like
it's a little weird, but
it is. It's a win for us, so it is, man. Like there's a certain degree of that, and then there's this degree where, like, last year I had a little bit rougher year overall than I normally do. Had some things just didn't go my way, and you feel a little bit like almost like you're not helping the team out like you should or whatever. You're not doing your part a little bit, but I know, like,
right.
It's not on a per deer basis, like KC's super happy for me when I shoot a buck and vice versa. But, you get a couple bucks behind and you're like, oh man, I got to do something.
But it's
here,
a good pressure. It's like Tyler and I are playing linebacker for Meat Eater right now, just hunting deer, and like he's got 3 sacks this game, and I ain't got none. You know what I mean? Actually, I got 1. But, you're just like, it's good for everybody when the sacks happen, but I kind of want a few of my own, which it was kind of weird this year, too, because we went to Nebraska, and we killed bucks on the same night. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It's the second year in a row we've done
cool
that, which
video.
is just, it's such a blessing, man. But the deer I shot, this video will be on the Meat Eater channel. Tyler's is way bigger. It's already on the Element channel right now. But I almost didn't get to enjoy Tyler's deer as much as I wish I would have, because my shot was like my deer just didn't, how do you say it? The shot wasn't as good as I wanted. It was lethal and everything was great, but I was like a little bit anxious about that, and it almost took away from the experience, because I just would have. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad I killed a deer, but I would have loved to just been able to just relish the fact that Tyler killed one of the biggest 8 points I've ever seen in my life, and I kind of got to miss out on part of that because I was all concerned about going and finding my deer. So, like,
I understand.
I don't know. It is cool to have that relationship where you can truly just have joy for the other person.
Yeah, there's a lot of things it teaches you, man. What we're learning a lot of things about life really through this old deer hunting thing that we're doing.
Ready to win Mother's Day and cement your reputation as the best gift giver in the family? Give the moms in your life an Aura digital picture frame preloaded with decades of family photos. She'll love looking back on these memories and seeing what you're up to today. Even better, with unlimited storage and an easy-to-use app, you can keep updating mom's frame with new photos, so it's the gift that keeps on giving. And this is not a joke. Juju Newcomb has an Aura frame, and we share photos, and they're incredible. Also, my mother-in-law has one. We have them. They truly are really good, really high quality. The Aura frame is easy to set up. It takes just 2 minutes to set up a frame using the Aura app. It also adjusts the display depending on light levels in the room to maintain the true color of your photos. For real, the digital screen is amazing. Right now, Aura has a great deal for Mother's Day. Listeners can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $30 off plus free shipping on their best-selling frame when you use code BEAR, B-E-A-R, BEAR. That's auraframes.com. Use code BEAR at checkout to save. Terms and conditions apply. The old-timers say that the turkeys start gobbling when the leaves are as big as squirrels' ears and the red buds start popping. And we're about there. And we are there in the South. The onX Hunt app is one of my most valuable tools in the spring woods. With tools like coniferous versus deciduous tree distribution layer, you can save time by locating edges or transition areas of mixing habitats from home. Find an area like this with water in close proximity, and more than likely, there will be a gobbling turkey nearby. Knowing the exact boundaries of private ground ensures I stay on the right side of the fence, but can easily find public ground to go see if I can't strike a gobbler. If you do get one to sound off, using compass mode and waypoints will help you pinpoint his exact location, allowing you to move in and make the perfect setup to bring him right into your lap. Download the onX Hunt app today. You'll be glad you did. onX has a special offer for you. Use code BEARGREASE to receive 20% off your membership at onxmaps.com/hunt this spring. Whitetail Institute launched the food plot revolution in 1988 with a concentration on research and real-world testing of forage products specifically for whitetail deer. Whitetail Institute's research and development team of agronomy experts provide effective, personalized service. I've been using Imperial Whitetail Clover for a long time in a food plot back behind my house. In 2007, I killed the biggest buck of my life over an Imperial Whitetail Clover small quarter-acre food plot. Imperial Whitetail Clover is the only clover scientifically developed through years of selective breeding. Clover Extreme genetic stability provides extreme cold tolerance, disease, and drought tolerance. It really does. Clover is coated with Whitetail Institute's Rain Bond, a polymer coating added for enhanced seedling survivability. They have an exclusive offer for Bear Grease listeners, 15% off Imperial Clover when you use the code BEAR at whitetailinstitute.com. That's whitetailinstitute.com and use code BEAR for 15% off.
Well, maybe y'all could give me some advice because my partner, Brent Reeves, is I know he's an undercover agent.
Yeah.
Double undercover, playing the long game on me. And I tell you what, one of the best friends you could ever have is an undercover wildlife agent.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a lot of fun. They're always ready to go, always ready for new ideas. But anyway,
You should, yeah. You could go double agent on him.
did
That's
you
what
know-
you should do.
I mean,
you should join the force.
I'm not kidding. Say that. What'd you say,
you should,
Casey?
you should join the force and go double agent on him. You know, like
Well,
be a mole.
Okay, this is a joke, but actually, the first couple of years that Brent was hanging around, it was my bite. It was kind of like I had just stepped into an outdoor media platform, and I have always been just paranoid about breaking the law and different things. And I'm serious. I actually thought this guy might be working for the government.
Yeah. Well, I think that's just an Arkansas thing. I think that's just the way y'all feel about stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you just feel like,
A little paranoid.
yeah, you know, like there's just this thing that you're born with. It's like, man, I might have already done something wrong. I didn't even know what it was. You know, and the deer was.
Yeah, man, that's it exactly.
No, I mean, you know, we're from deep western Arkansas there in East Texas, and I kind of got the same thing going. And honestly, it's kind of funny you say that because if you travel around much, deer hunting, state to state regulations are a lot different.
Yeah.
And so, like, you might have to have this permit over here, but over here you got to worry about what kind of boots you wear, and, you know, who knows what.
Yeah, and
you
in
know?
this state, you can tag them when you get to your truck, and in that one, you literally cannot move the deer at all. Can't even take a picture with them without the tag on. It's like, man.
Oh, you talk about – so here's the thing. Tyler and I trust each other a whole lot. So it's going to come back to bite me. All right, but I've been delving into the practical joking a little bit here lately, and incorporating that into our hunts. So
Yeah.
Tyler went to South Dakota and killed a deer first sit because he just does that, and so he became bird hunter, upland hunter, real quick. Well, they have multiple species of upland bird there in South Dakota, and seasons kind of change, but depending on the bird. Well, he kind of was all hyped because he'd killed some greater prairie chickens, which is something we don't even see. I ain't never seen one, until we go up there. And they're awesome. They're like the world's biggest quail. They're the same thing pretty much. They're just cool. Well, he called me because I was deer hunting that morning, and I was headed back into camp afterwards.
This is
and
bad.
He was like all hype about it, like, dude, I killed a bunch of doves yesterday, and I went out and I shot a limit of these prairie chickens. And I was like, just going on with it, And I was like, man, that's awesome. Are you going to, because we do, the social media thing or whatever. It's like, and I'd already seen on the story that he posted about it on Instagram. And I said, are you going to, but I didn't tell him that. I said, are you going to wait? Are you going to wait to like post that on the 15th or like, what's your plan? And, I didn't come out and say, I'm not sure there's not the season, but kind of give him a little taste of like.
Hey, and the season had opened on September 15th, and I knew that.
Yeah.
But it was, the 2nd of October or whatever. So I was in the season, but I started thinking about, that was a 15th. That's 10/15, dude. Oh no. I was like, I already posted on the story.
I got him pretty
Oh,
good.
he had me for a second, man. And then I was like, I couldn't even speak, dude. I was like, because I'm the same way, dude. Like you can't do something wrong, man. I mean, there's how many people out there even listening to this podcast right now, have cheated the limits a little bit or done something over the years.
Clay's already trying to get us on the Game Board podcast. He was. I made a joke about shooting a bear, thinking it was a hog, and all of a sudden Clay goes into federal agent mode on me. Like.
Well, I may be working for Brent.
You might.
There you go.
That's
never
it.
know.
There you go, man.
R.T. Stewart, I mean, this is like legendary Bear Grease stuff. We did a series called Secret Agent Man, one of our most listened to series of all time on a secret agent from Ohio named R.T. Stewart. One of his like best moments, best Bear Grease moments was he was deep inside of a walleye poaching sting.
Ooh.
These guys were fishing walleyes and selling them like big money. Like selling thousands and thousands of pounds of illegal walleyes. Apparently, those people up north are nuts about walleyes.
Mm-hmm.
And he was at a party with this big-time poacher who they were about to nail. And RT moves in to get him to confess to more than he ever had. And the guy all of a sudden gets suspicious of RT, maybe for the first time, definitely the first time he'd confronted RT. And he says, you got to be a bleepity bleep game warden. I bet you're wearing a wire. And he just confronts RT publicly. RT stands up, drops his pants to his ankles, takes his shirt off, and yells to show that he's not wearing a wire and accuses the other guy of being a game warden.
Oh, double cross.
He goes, you're the game warden. You're the game warden. Take your clothes off. I bet you're wearing a wire. This is like at a public party. He's got his pants to his ankles, no shirt on, but there's one thing I haven't told you. He was wearing a cowboy hat, and his wire was under the cowboy hat.
Oh.
Bam. You see it. But one of the best things he ever did was accuse the other guy of being a game warden.
Out Whataburger.
That's a good trick.
Yeah,
That's a good trick.
Out Whataburger. That's right, man, for sure. So, was it not suspicious for this Ohioan to be wearing a cowboy hat?
Man, there's a lot of that. Southern Ohio is like
oh yeah, it's a weird
Appalachia,
place.
man.
Yeah.
And is it in bounds.
There's that little area of the country there that's like Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana. They don't even know where they're from.
No,
like,
they don't.
They can't tell you which state they're from because it's like they just claim it all. Basketball
Stewart,
season they're from Kentucky. Football season from Ohio.
Of course.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of
go
Ohio,
ahead,
Clay, you got to hunt with on that Arkansas hunt. You got to hunt with a guy you know is Spike. How's that, man?
Man, so we're talking about their cameraman, Mike Stroll.
Mike's, yep.
Stoll.
Stoll.
What's his last name?
That's him.
Stoll,
And
my bad.
he's. I mean, I just wondered how, because there's a pretty famous cell phone recording of him trying to go up a mud bank in the boots.
Yeah.
I just wonder how it was
Yeah.
walking around in the woods with him. If he was sliding all over the place.
Man, he impressed me.
That's good.
When we hunted together, any cameraman that I ever hunt with, I'm suspicious of.
Yep.
From the get-go. Not suspicious of. I'm just like, hey.
Like, would you ask him if he's wearing a wire and make him strip down, or what kind of suspicion are you talking about?
No. I got nothing to hide. I was cool with him recording everything we said. I was just like, listen up, buddy. You're not gonna mess up my whitetail hunt, okay?
Yep.
You're gonna have to sit there like a dead bird on a branch, not move, not talk, do your job. No, I'm not a jerk, but I am just like. I just am like, we'll see how this goes. And man, he was killer, dude. He could sit longer than me. He could stay warmer than me. He talked less than me. He filmed very well. He was helpful in the woods, scouting, hunting. I mean, we were just kind of a team. I was asking him what he thought we should be doing. And he was a joy to hunt with. We had a great time.
He is, man. He's got 2 of my kills on video this year. And he does a good job, man.
He says that you like the nosebleed section of the woods.
Man, I do like to get high.
himself.
You did have a big old
I didn't
stack of sticks.
I didn't realize it until I started hunting. Justin Michaud, a cameraman, he said the same thing about me. I just feel like the higher you are, the better chance you're going to get away with scent problems and just them seeing.
Oh, Clay Newcomb, the scent control master over here, right?
That's right. That's right. Don't get me started. Don't get me started.
Hey, I was listening to a podcast, and your dad is all about it.
Well, see, okay, well, you don't know the whole story. I mean, the reason I can speak so authoritatively on whitetail scent control products is because I was there at the start, brother.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in the mid-'90s when they first started coming out with Scent Shield and Scent Lock and all that stuff, I mean, we were right there. And my dad was as serious about it as anybody that ever lived. I mean, I'm serious. Like, the nitpick detail of his scent control regimen is incredible. And so I, as a kid and as a young adult, I did that to hunt with him. Like, he wouldn't hunt with you if you didn't do it.
How about that?
He's just like, he would be like, I will not take you hunting if you, or he wouldn't put me, like, the way it would work is when I was a kid was he would have good stands that he had scouted. So, I'd on the weekend go hunt with him and he'd put me on one of his good stands, and he's like, it's like we had to do it. So when I became an adult, moved away, and really started to learn to bow hunt on my own, I couldn't afford that stuff. I didn't have the time for it. Like, just life was very hectic when I was going to college, had kids, newly married, and I just started hunting the wind. And, basically that's when I really started killing deer. And then at least 2 different times during my whitetail career, I have gone back to major scent control product use. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I won't go into the details of those products, but there came a time, just even a couple years ago, when I was like, okay, I'm going to give this a go again. I was getting smelled. Or hunting risky spots and getting smelled.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't like it. And I was like, maybe technology's changed. Maybe things are different. And basically, it's anything that someone observes in the woods is always going to have some level of anecdotal evidence. Like, there's some level of, you could have done it different, you could have done it better, maybe it was just a freak circumstance. But basically, deer would smell me just the same when I was using all those products as they did when I didn't. So I was just like, well, I'm cutting out that section of my hunting because of how much energy it takes, and I'm devoting energy to the actual limiting factors of my hunting. So
We've gotten to the same place.
anyway,
Yeah.
Yep, we're there, man. Like, and when you travel as much, that's when it really gets tough because you don't have dryers and washers and all the stuff always, and it's just you got to put gas in your truck because you're out of you've been 400 miles.
You've been in a boat, and
whether
it's
your
always
bladder's
gonna
big or
smoke.
not. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's it.
You got to get some gas.
Now I got a question for you on that front though. But you do something we don't, and that's that bear hunting. And you're in close a lot of the times on that deal. But a bear's psyche is different than a whitetail, right? Like they just approach the world differently, and their nose is just like you can probably go on about this more than I can, but their nose is like their window into the world. So, do you approach that any differently with bears than you do deer?
Well, it's the exact same. I mean, because it actually amplifies the fact that you can't hide from them.
Yeah.
Like it to me, what people say about scent control products is that maybe it helps a little. And I don't think there's such thing as helping a little. Like if a bear smells a little human or a lot of human, he's going to be alarmed. If a doe deer smells a little human or a lot of human, she's going to run away.
Clay,
Like now
when you
what's
say
that?
a little
What's that?
human, what exactly? Because we have this thing where people say all the time, "Oh, I'm a big hunter," and you're like, "Well, how big?"
Or they smell little
like,
hunters.
how big a boy are you?
Okay, I walked into one of your inside jokes. That's what's
Yes.
happened here.
That's
Yeah,
exactly
yeah.
right. We
Okay.
have a lot of them. Though.
Yeah, you didn't talk about
Okay.
that. That's one of the things you learned about us too is how many inside jokes we
Oh
have.
yeah, that was the third thing. Aside from y'all being really good hunters and moving around a lot, is a lot of inside jokes that nobody gets but y'all. Okay.
Well, now you're on the
Okay.
inside, man. That's a good place to be.
Well, I am now.
Yeah.
Little human. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I like it. I'm gonna start using that.
Oh.
Yeah. He smelled a
No,
little human. over there.
we could.
Hey,
Jose
why not deer get
Altuve.
away? I always smelled a little human.
Well, bears respond differently to humans sit in different situations. Like if you're baiting them, you are not trying to. I mean, they're very aware that there's a human involved at this bait site, and so you can get away with human odor with lesser animals to some degree. Mm-hmm. There are times like this year, my son was hunting bait, and like he said, Dad, the wind was blowing directly to these bears, and they just didn't care, and they would come in. But those also weren't big, older, mature males.
Mm-hmm.
Big, older, mature males are just like it's so amazing. In all the species, the big, older, mature males just operate at a different level
Mm-hmm.
of consciousness of the world. And black bears are just like big whitetail bucks. They're just on a different life schedule and routine.
Mm-hmm.
But very rarely, even on a bait site, would a big adult male know a human is there and them just barge in. But a younger bear might. You're out in the woods, you're out in the big country, not in a bait situation. Any bear on planet Earth, 95% of the time smells a human, they're going to run like a scalded dog,
Yeah. Is there there's a pretty, I guess, at least vocal subset of whitetail deer hunters that don't like the bait thing, Is that I feel like that I may be wrong because I'm pretty on the outside here, but I feel like it doesn't exist as much in the bear world. Is that right?
What do you mean?
Like there's
people-
not like baiting isn't as taboo in the bear world as it is in the deer world sometimes, it seems like.
Oh, I don't know. I think it probably is. I
Is
think
it?
there's plenty of people that wouldn't like bear hunting over bait or just. But we've been talking about it for over a decade. Is that man bear hunting over bait? It's a management tool that we use in places that we need it, and it's an incredible way to be selective and manage bears and hunt. And it's just like anything. If you're trying to get an older age male, it's extremely difficult. I mean, you'd be better off. It'd be easier for you to kill a big buck in this state than it would be to intentionally kill a big bear. I mean, if you were like, Clay, you got to kill a big buck or a 450-pound black bear this year, you got to, or we're going to take your house. What are you going to do? I'd be like, dude, I'll take the 140. I mean, it's hard, even with bait.
Oh, you call
know,
140
hard.
big? I didn't realize that.
No, I call 140 real big.
Oh man.
Hey, let me switch topics a little bit, slightly. There's two things I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about outdoor media because it's rare that I have another person in media on the Bear Grease Render, but also want to talk to you about the deer stories thing a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't like being in outdoor media.
Well, when you said that, I
let me
kind of cringed.
explain.
You know, like I'm right there with you.
Yeah, let me explain. Yeah, people look at us like guys like you guys that are full-time employed inside of production of everything that involves the element, which is a hunting show podcast group. You know, people look at me and they think I'm a hunting professional. I don't like that, but that's just the truth. There's also been a pretty big stir in the pot of late about this idea that hunting media and hunting influencers is really negative for conservation and hunting. Are y'all aware of that?
Yeah.
Do y'all know that's going on?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how in tune I am with that, and I don't know to what degree the percentage of the population feels that. But there is chatter that is out there for sure.
What do y'all think? I mean, like, how do you? I guess in a sense, we are all trying to. All of our goal is towards a limited resource, which would be hunting land, access, bigger bucks, whitetail deer, whatever. And you know, we're promoting hunting, but also, you know, the big thing that people are saying is that we've made hunting what's the word I'm trying to say?
A commodity.
Commodified.
Yeah.
Commodity. We have commodified hunting in that we are selling products as a result of our hunting, and that we're recruiting new hunters basically to buy a new product. Like, that's what people say.
Well,
what do you guys think of that?
I mean, I feel like since, you know, beginning of time, people have had commerce. I mean, whether you work at a hardware store or a dairy plant or whatever, you're essentially making an end product sale, right? I mean, I don't know.
Right.
There's probably not a whole lot of, if any, jobs, and I'm sure somebody will correct me, but like I can't think of any off the top of my head that don't end in some sort of sale, right? So, I mean, that's how the world works. It's either barter or sale, and to either acquire something or get rid of something. So, I mean, it's not it is a very complicated question, like a very big, broad, general question too. So I'll try not to be too verbose, but like I've wanted to hunt or fish for a living since I was tiny, man. Like, I wanted to be a fishing guide for a while. Well, what does a fishing guide do? Well, he sells fishing trips, you know, and probably sells, G. Loomis rods or whatever too along the way when, you know, they give him free rods and his clients fish with them all day or whatever. So, I mean,
Right.
I could do that, or I have a pretty good degree. I could have gone to Dallas and worked for a company that, you know, sells wealthy people financial advising plans or whatever, you know, like whatever it might have been. But, I mean, you got to do something. And I feel extremely blessed to just be able to hunt so much. I can remember, one of the first days after we started working for Meat Eater, and me and KC were walking around, and the guys were with us, and we're walking around in the woods trying to shoot a pig, spot and stalk, down in just our home woods just in the river bottoms. And it was like Tuesday, and I told KC, I was like, I can't believe it's kind of the first time I've been striving to do something as an entrepreneur for a long time, and we lived very poor for a long time, and I can't believe I'm walking around in the woods right now hunting pigs, and like that's kind of my job. It's like it doesn't even. It's never felt like I could tell somebody honestly like that's what I do for a living, and all of a sudden it changed. You know what I mean? And I could say, if somebody asked me, well, what are y'all doing today? Well, we're going to go hunt pigs. And it's like, and that's what I'm supposed to do. That's like how I work, and I couldn't believe it, man. Like I said, I've certainly worked hard, but a lot of fellers out there work hard, man. I feel extremely blessed to be able to do what I'm doing. And as far as the media side of things go, man, it's a tough line, and we are constantly changing and figuring out how to do it to the best of our ability, where you do things that people are interested in, people want to see, but you also try to show a positive light into the hunting world, but you also want to show a realistic light, right? I mean, not every deer dies quickly, man. We all know that, but people that are new hunters or anti-hunters don't know that sometimes. And what they also don't think about maybe is that in nature, those deer don't die quick either, like whether we're hunting them or not. So it's just it's a hard thing to contemplate and to understand. I think that's kind of my 2 cents. I guess.
There's like a right way and wrong way of doing it just with about anything you're going to do, and I think that first off, if you're going to set out to do something, you should have the best intentions in what you do, and just to if you don't mind me speaking freely on your podcast, Tyler and I, our desire is to glorify God with what we do, and not everybody believes that, and that's fine. But so through our desire with doing that, we're going to do our best. We're going to fail because we're humans, and that's like the human condition, right?
Medium-sized humans, not little humans.
Not little or big, not little human, not a big human.
Medium-sized.
Just the medium humans here. But so like if you set out with that intention, I think that at least through most people, besides the ones that are just out to get you, it's perceived as genuine, and that's what I try to do and stuff, and I also am a free market capitalist, so I feel like this stuff is not gonna, like if we are making hunting videos,
that's exactly right. I know what you're
and it's
say.
Gonna, and it still perpetuates, then it's good. If it ain't, and if it doesn't, it's gonna cease to exist, and I don't want the government or any entity telling us we can or can't do none of this stuff, just because it bothers somebody's feelings. Honestly, like if we do our job and portray this stuff in the right way, it's going to produce two things. It's going to produce more people who are in support of hunting, and it's going to produce a higher demand for hunting access and opportunities. And if your government didn't hate you, then they would see that you want more opportunity. So, like the people who are yelling about the fact that we're shining light on maybe public lands and public lands are too busy. And it's like, well, don't get mad at us. Tell the powers that be to open up more ground.
Mm-hmm.
That's the result we should strive for.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a little too soapboxy. Sorry about that, but I get fired up.
No,
man.
I mean that's what I wanted to hear, because I think it's a point of introspection that anybody that's involved in social media, outdoor media in any way, we have to evaluate why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah,
because I think it's important. Motivations are very important. Motivations are more important in many ways than anything. It's like why we're doing what we're doing. And so as I've heard some of this stuff from from different groups and different people, just about, it's kind of like just saying the things you've said there, that social media influencers are drawing all this attention to hunting in public land and artificially recruiting new people, that's overcrowding and all this stuff. And I mean, I could go on, but I think it's good to hear stuff like that and consider, just like, okay, are they right? Like, do they have rational arguments that make sense?
Yeah.
And or questioning, do they? And most of what I've heard to me really doesn't add up. It's like, man, if we just don't talk about our hunting and hide, we have lost pace with the age. And we will die off and fade away as the trend of modern bias and modern ideas just overtakes. And it's like we've everything, every single industry, every single one, from bicycling to four-wheeling to tennis and golf and knitting, and everything has media. And that media has influencers, people that are at the forefront of that industry. And all those people are fueled by the financial side of that business. And so it's kind of like, don't hate the player, hate the game. Yeah, kind of like KC's capitalism. It's like, this is just the way this works.
Yeah.
And I like what you said about us putting demand on the system for more access. Now, there's there's no right answer to anything. I mean, inevitably, popularity in hunting has caused land to be leased that was never leased before. It's causing excess recreational land prices and all this stuff. And it's like, if we hadn't talked about hunting, do you think that would be any different? And anyway, I just
probably
think it's
not. But man, like the sister of pride is envy. And that's the thing that gets a lot of people. And a lot of times these squeaky wheels are envious of whatever things may be. I'll just allude to things, but there's a great story, the greatest story that was ever told, right? There was a creator, and then there was an impersonator. And that impersonator still works hard every day and is just furious that it cannot be the supreme being, right? So, that you run into that, and it's played out again and again and again in so many facets where – a lot of the times, I'm not saying all the time, because like you said, there are some rational arguments to be made about this stuff, that the person who is whining about stuff is envious of the other position that the other people are in. And they're mad that they can't do that, and they want it their way, and it doesn't work.
Well, I can say this too. I've been there, man. And I've been. We all know, man, that. Of the three of us, I'm the worst, So,
Spurgeon over here, man.
I wouldn't be a fan.
Yeah, there we go. I'm just, I've been there, man, and we also, the three of us, believe we shouldn't be grumbling and complaining about stuff, but we do it at times, know. And I think that hopefully, if there's a message that could come through this too from me, that's just that everybody can have a little more grace with each other, because, I mean, just there's. Think about this, man. When I was 18, I thought it'd be so cool to be, on TV hunting, right? Watching some monster bucks, being like, man, what if I could go do that, Sit in a tree stand on the edge of a, field, wheat field with corn on the edge of it or whatever, and just shoot a big old monster. Like, that's what you thought was cool. And I think, man, you got to look at some of these, what Clay, you're saying is an influencer, and sometimes they're 20-year-olds, man. And I'm, in my mid-30s, and there's guys like Steve that are older than that, and there's guys that are in their 70s that are still on TV, and doing things. And I think that as a guy who's probably on the younger end of the spectrum, but one that's not a 20-year-old, I can say, like, my priorities have changed. What I want out of this has changed a lot since I was 20, or even since I was maybe, 29 or 30. And so I think just to have some grace with those people, to understand, hey, they got a chance to grow up, give them some grace, and let them pan out and see if maybe they're not so dumb when they hit their 30s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and then I'm sure Steve's saying the same thing about me, or whatever. But that's the thing, man. It's just everybody got to understand, man. We all have some bad tendencies, and not everybody's trying to, be bad. A lot of people are trying to be a little bit better as they go and they grow, So,
and I'm going to take this a different direction, just to kind of, maybe appease those who got a little outlaw in them, like a lot of us do. there comes a point.
Just note that I'm recording this whole thing.
That's right. I hope you do, because it needs to be known. Y'all come and take it, as we say. Here's the deal, man, is I love what we do enough, not the media side of it, but the hunting side of it. And we're talking about how media affects hunting, right? I never want to sabotage what we're doing. I want it to be something that perpetuates until it can't no more. And so, like, I want my kids, my grandkids, all that to be able to go out and enjoy the outdoors the way that we do. And at some point in time, there may be, and there could be, there are people out there currently that would have that taken away, not because we're making videos, not because they just don't understand our way of life, but just because they don't like the fact that we kill animals. And if that ever grows, and that's going to happen whether or not we make videos about it, right? There will come there could come a time, and I am willing to do it, I would become a so-called poacher if need be.
Let's go,
dude.
Getting on Clay's podcast
I know, dude.
again.
I want to be on Clay's podcast as much as possible, but hear me out, all right? Not in the sense of the word that we understand it, but the only difference in poaching and hunting is a law. And maybe like a sense of morality and one's own personal ethics, right? But just stick with me for a second. Like, suddenly, if they made it illegal to hunt whitetail deer where I live, exclusively, you just cannot hunt them, I don't know if I would be a law-abiding citizen. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So, I care about it that much, but I'm going to do everything I can to not ever see that become a reality.
Clay, I hope you don't get too many messages.
I love to say controversial things, and it's not because I desire controversy. It's just who I am.
Well, and I think what you're saying there is something that a lot of people have probably thought about.
Yeah,
is like, where does this thing? And we're long. Thank goodness that we're a long ways from that.
That's right.
And if we I feel like if we do our job, and really I feel like we're a part of a revolution that has.
Let's go. Where are we going with this?
Culminating. Really, a revolution in the ideology and communication around hunting. That we've just got so much rational, common sense, goodness, and civil, wonderful things that happen and services that are provided to the world by hunting and through the dollars of hunters, that it's just hard to even argue that this is not a very positive thing for our society and our country. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like, so that's our trajectory, but we also have to, like any rational person assessing the situation, would say what could happen, a generation from now or 20 years from now, or what if this happened? What if that happened? And I mean, I think it's where what you're saying is that there comes a point when this violates almost like civil liberty.
Exactly. Yeah, there's an infamous quote
that you can't do this.
There's an infamous quote that says that there comes a point in time where reasonable men are driven to do unreasonable things, right? And I don't desire that by any means. So let me make that clear.
And
clearly,
you're not saying break reasonable game laws that have been set. By agencies that are for us, not against us. Which is, I mean, I believe exclusively true across the board, 99% of the time. And I think that's the way we've got to believe, is that the agencies that are running our game departments in each state ultimately have the resource in mind and our traditions in mind, and there's that could be scrutinized in small cases, I'm sure.
But I mean, back to the media thing, if it is creating more hunters and that kind of thing, I mean, that's what you want, right? You want numbers of people saying, "Hey, you don't need to take this away."
Yeah, it goes back to the whole hey, give more access. If you have more hunters, you should be generating more dollars.
Speak with your dollars.
Yeah.
Well, and I think if hunting means as much, if hunting really means as much to us as we say that it does, then it's been valuable inside of our life. Us wanting to share that with the world makes a lot of sense too.
Mm-hmm.
And as places, it's possible you could go to your public land spot and there'd be more people than there were 5 years ago there. That's possible.
Yeah.
And you hear about that a lot. But I also hear from a lot of people that are like, man, I hadn't seen anybody where I hunt in years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do. Not all over the country. I mean, it just matters who you talk to. And sometimes the squeaky wheel is the one that gets the attention, gets the drama. There's a lot of great hunting left and in a lot of places. And anyway, I think the more people we have, the better. I really do.
Man, there's like
I just wanted to ask you guys about that.
Yeah, sorry. You're like, hey, guys, we're talking about this too much. But there is a generality of like, hey, if you don't like a certain situation, then work harder to improve your personal situation. And you can go down to just the basis of like public land hunting, right? Like whenever I see, like if I encounter people on public ground, I'm like, not mad at them. I'm mad at myself because I'm like, well, I'm not smart enough. I haven't learned enough lessons to say, hey, there was going to be a dude there. I need to go deeper. I need to be smarter. I need to be more cunning in my methods. So it's like you just got to, realize that when you're pointing a finger, you got a couple pointing back. Like you got to just work on yourself because that's the thing you have the most control of.
Ready to win Mother's Day and cement your reputation as the best gift giver in the family? Give the moms in your life an Aura digital picture frame preloaded with decades of family photos. She'll love looking back on these memories and seeing what you're up to today. Even better, with unlimited storage and an easy-to-use app, you can keep updating mom's frame with new photos, so it's the gift that keeps on giving. And this is not a joke. Juju Newcomb has an Aura frame, and we share photos, and they're incredible. Also, my mother-in-law has one. We have them. They truly are really good, really high quality. The Aura frame is easy to set up. It takes just 2 minutes to set up a frame using the Aura app. It also adjusts the display depending on light levels in the room to maintain the true color of your photos. For real, the digital screen is amazing. Right now, Aura has a great deal for Mother's Day. Listeners can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $30 off plus free shipping on their best-selling frame when you use code BEAR, B-E-A-R, BEAR. That's auraframes.com. Use code BEAR at checkout to save. Terms and conditions apply. The old-timers say that the turkeys start gobbling when the leaves are as big as squirrels' ears and the red buds start popping. And we're about there. And we are there in the South. The onX Hunt app is one of my most valuable tools in the spring woods. With tools like coniferous versus deciduous tree distribution layer, you can save time by locating edges or transition areas of mixing habitats from home. Find an area like this with water in close proximity, and more than likely, there will be a gobbling turkey nearby. Knowing the exact boundaries of private ground ensures I stay on the right side of the fence, but can easily find public ground to go see if I can't strike a gobbler. If you do get one to sound off, using compass mode and waypoints will help you pinpoint his exact location, allowing you to move in and make the perfect setup to bring him right into your lap. Download the onX Hunt app today. You'll be glad you did. onX has a special offer for you. Use code BEARGREASE to receive 20% off your membership at onxmaps.com/hunt this spring. Whitetail Institute launched the food plot revolution in 1988 with a concentration on research and real-world testing of forage products specifically for whitetail deer. Whitetail Institute's research and development team of agronomy experts provide effective, personalized service. I've been using Imperial Whitetail Clover for a long time in a food plot back behind my house. In 2007, I killed the biggest buck of my life over an Imperial Whitetail Clover small quarter-acre food plot. Imperial Whitetail Clover is the only clover scientifically developed through years of selective breeding. Clover Extreme genetic stability provides extreme cold tolerance, disease, and drought tolerance. It really does. Clover is coated with Whitetail Institute's Rain Bond, a polymer coating added for enhanced seedling survivability. They have an exclusive offer for Bear Grease listeners, 15% off imperial, clover when you use the code BEAR at whitetailinstitute.com. That's whitetailinstitute.com and use code BEAR for 15% off.
Yeah, man. Well, on this latest Deer Stories episode, well, actually on both. So we're right in the middle of a series on Deer Stories, which is one of my favorite series we do every year on Bear Grease. And I go around and collect stories from guys, and it's a lot of fun because it's kind of like homecoming in some way. I mean, I'm going and visiting all these people that I know, and most of the stories I collect in person. Some of them I don't. But I made it a point this year to include several dog hunting stories, which is a very small subset of whitetail hunters.
So this is kind of like Little Hunters. Can you, when you say dog hunting, are you talking about something that is publicly perceived positively or negatively here, Clay?
Well, I'm not following the joke, Casey.
I'm saying you're not saying that a person goes into the woods in pursuit of a canine, right? You're talking about something where they're using
dogs
a dog
to chase deer.
Yeah. So, yeah, okay. Is that still legal in Arkansas?
Yeah, it is. It's legal in multiple states.
Yeah,
but actually, a very small percentage of hunting land in the U.S. is it legal to pursue white-tailed deer with the use of hounds, with the use of dogs. And where I grew up, to this day, it's still legal to run hounds, and I didn't know there was any place that it wasn't, until I became an adult, and I was like, oh, wow, this is actually really unique and special. And it's a fascinating group of people that are dog hunters, and I would say they have received an incredibly small amount of publicity in all of the reporting on whitetail hunting ever. I mean, really, it's just like, go show me a mainstream video of a deer hunt with dogs. I don't think I've ever seen it. I never saw any of the big names deer hunting with dogs and all this. And there's reasons for that. But these guys, when you meet them and talk to them and you really understand the way they think about things, they're as serious about whitetails as you guys are. I mean, they are. I mean, without question, their energy is just placed in a different way inside of hunting. And so on this last series, well, in this series, I've had multiple dog stories, and you know what? I love this so much. I want to just make T-shirts about it and tell everybody. But the dog hunters look at still hunters and sometimes think they aren't sportsmanlike. They're like, it's not sportsmanlike to just sneak up on one and thump it in the head.
Well, we usually honk the horn or something to give them a warning when we go out,
Yeah, like Kevin Murphy, like Steve Rinnella's buddy, my buddy, Kevin Murphy, who, when he squirrel hunts, he blows his horn before he turns the dogs loose just to warn the wildlife, here we come.
Yeah, let them know it's there.
Stoney Edwards had a little part in his last story, and, man, it was my fault that it wasn't included. It was actually an editing error. It happens at Bear Grease occasionally. It was my fault. I had about a 2-minute segment in there where he was talking about the way he views sportsmanship and hunting with dogs, and he was like, man, this is the most primitive way on earth to hunt a deer. And he said, it's really difficult. He's like, if we wanted to just kill a bunch of deer, we wouldn't be using dogs. And but those guys, without a doubt. I mean, he said we'd go sit in tree stands if we wanted to kill a bunch of deer,
Yeah.
But they love their dogs. They understand deer. Holy cow! You want to learn something about deer and where they go and where they travel? Put some dogs behind them.
Does that descend from like the English fox trials and stuff like that? If I'm you know a lot more about this than me. So those guys.
Most of the hound.
Go ahead.
Yeah, most of the hound traditions in the U.S. you could trace them back pretty easily back to our European traditions. They ran red stag and wild boar. They ran everything with hounds over there. I mean, back in those days, hunting meant you had hounds. And so a lot of these families, whether they be bear hunters or deer dog guys, have deep roots that go probably without skipping a generation, some of them, all the way back to those roots across in Europe. I mean, no doubt. And that love of hounds and pursuit is still there. And I love it. And I mean, I'm not a big – I don't own deer dogs. I've killed a few deer in front of dogs, but it's like not something I personally am going to go do all the time. But I'm passionate about telling those guys' story and letting them tell their story. But with the point of it being, because on this last episode, there was a dog story by Stoney Edwards, and then the very last story, which to me was the most – I really enjoyed it, was from a man that has been a heavy influence in my hunting, a man named David Albright, who he tells a story about killing about 155-inch deer on public land with a traditional bow he made himself. And that's like normal for him. Like he's been making his own bows and hunting on public land for the last 35 years or so, or 40 years. And but I told these two stories side by side. Deer hunting with dogs, and then a traditional bowyer who's hunting out of tree stands, making his own bows, hunting deer just on public land. And I said, in the spectrum of deer hunting, these two guys couldn't be further opposite each other. They really couldn't. I mean, could you think of a more extreme two ways to hunt whitetails? I mean, because hunting with traditional primitive equipment is like the most primitive self-imposed limitation method of hunting whitetail deer possible. I mean, perhaps an atlatl where it's legal. I think in Missouri you can use an atlatl. Like that would be more primitive. And then on the other extreme, I mean, I would argue that hunting with dogs is extremely primitive, but it would be using a whole different set of metrics to kill a deer.
Yeah,
right.
And my point was, these guys are, you might say they're on opposites and they're not alike, but I said these guys are like fraternal twins. These guys are way more alike than they are different. Like if you just canvassed planet Earth and all the diverse things that people do with their life, it's like some people are golfers, some people watch television, that's all they do. Some people are insurance agents and enjoy going on the lake and skiing. Like of all the diverse interests, David Albright and Stoney Edwards are almost they're twins, fraternal twins. Like they have way more in common than they have differences. Even though if you got them, they might be seem like they were different. The whole point of it was there's power in us sticking together.
Sure, it's a
Like
good
real
thing.
Power.
Yeah. It's
real
that's the thing,
functional.
Man. We gotta understand that there. Instead of looking for the differences, and like I said, I'll say it about myself as much as anybody, but a lot of people, including me at times, like to look for things that are negative or complain about things, right? Casey and I call it the farmer and the coyote complex, where the farmer, if he ever actually kills that coyote, he doesn't have anything to complain about anymore. So he doesn't get to go to the cafe and talk. He doesn't really have a whole lot to say. So he always misses the coyote on purpose. You know what I mean?
My gun went misfire.
I couldn't get my gun out of my truck quick enough, or whatever. And I think that's what generally, humanity likes to complain a little bit. If you were to listen to any popular song, I bet you 80% of them are complaining songs, especially in country. And anyway, I think that we should definitely just be emphatic about your statement there that maybe we're more alike with each other sometimes than we think, and we should try to emphasize the things that we like about people and focus on those things when we talk about people rather than talk about their negatives. And again, I am in that discussion a lot, so it's something I'm learning to do better for sure.
Yeah. And I think that it's easy to talk about something like this, but to me, where the rubber hits the road and it functionalizes it's easy for us three to sit here and like be on our high horse talking about, unification of the hunting community.
Mm-hmm.
It's another thing when I go out and this recorder isn't working and I'm talking to my sons and I'm talking to just other people in camps. And it's like I have to have that attitude all the time. And that means when I'm out bow hunting on public land over here and a pack of deer dogs runs by me and messes up my hunt, I have to just be like, hey, man, they got me this time, but, next time – I bet they won't. And those guys had a good time because of that. I mean, I have to actually have ideology that reflects what I'm saying. I mean,
sure. The actions
there is
show
some
what you
give
believe.
and take.
Yeah,
There's give and take.
Yeah.
Tyler's point about Grace too. It's like, hey, those guys didn't have malintent to mess up your hunt. So it's cool to be frustrated or whatever, but like you shouldn't just want to bring them harm
into what they're doing.
Yeah.
I talked on the podcast about traditional use practices, and I really have a strong belief inside of hunting, inside of a general conservation plan that is beneficial for the resource, but including traditional use practices as a major thing in making laws. I mean, it's like I think it would be a massive crime if in 30 years from now you couldn't run deer with dogs in the United States.
Yeah.
And it's not because I love to do it. It's a philosophical position.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question about that. So,
yeah,
I come from a traditional use practice culture of hog dogging. So it's different than running than deer with dogs,
right.
But you're familiar with it. It's baying hogs with dogs, and I grew up doing it. A lot of guys doing it in different ways, but there's a gruesome nature to some of it, and I would definitely this kind of ties the media thing together with what you're talking about with deer dogs and stuff. Like, I for sure would say that there are things that happen when you're running hogs with dogs that doesn't need to make the light of day for most individuals, and I would even go so far as to say that there are publications, whether they be private or commercialized. I'm not really. I don't want to say what, but just videos have come out that I believe have hurt the image of hog hunting with dogs, just because it is not it ain't for the faint of heart. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So like, is there a way where the publicizing hunting deer with dogs has a similar effect?
Right. That's a good question. And I don't think there's a right answer. I think guys might just have opinions. But I was confronted with this big time with the bear hound hunting community 10 years ago when I was running Bear Hunting Magazine, and we began to highlight bear hunting with hounds more than it had ever been highlighted nationally. And there was some group of people that I felt like were upset with us for showing something that had kind of been under the radar, so to speak. And my philosophy was we have to let us be the storyteller of our lives and our story and our passion, because if we don't tell the story, somebody else will. Mm-hmm. That is not a license to put anything and everything on television or on the YouTube. There's parts of hunting, just like there's parts of life. There's like parts of your life that you don't want to broadcast to the world.
Yep.
That are private, that are ugly, that. So I mean, I think it just goes back to.
Dang, you talking harshly about my life here, Clay.
Yeah. It ain't pretty, KC. We all know it. No. So yeah, do I think they need to be putting a bunch of bay ups and stuff on the internet? I'm a little bit undecided, to be honest with you, because I think definitely there's some things that shouldn't. But should we completely hide that? I don't know, because our society, there was a time when that would have just been known that that's the way the natural world worked, is that the natural world has a component, a God-given component of brutality inside of it.
Yep.
And as we handle that little part of it, and people do have a big problem with humans being involved in anything like that. Like they can watch a lion like maul and pull the guts out of a living gazelle, and it's like not a problem for them. But if they watched a person release a dog that bays a hog, which is not nearly as brutal, they might have problems with it. And so, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what I think we have to say is that what we're doing inside of hunting is highly regulated, highly backed by science, highly backed by a ethos inside the hunting community in general. There's always bad apples. There's always guys that are going to break the rules. There's always outlaws. There's always going to be people in tennis, in golf, in jet skiing, in hunting that are going to make us look bad. But in general, the hunting community is trying to be as absolutely humane as possible in everything that we do. We're trying to make ethical shots. We're trying to take down animals, quick and clean kills. We're trying to minimize any amount of suffering for anything. Always. We always do. But sometimes that the very nature of what we're doing is rough.
Yeah.
And I feel like society just has to be okay with that.
Yeah.
And needs to trust us inside of that space. Because, I mean, we could get into all the philosophical elements of like you see a Angus beefsteak on the counter in the freezer at the grocery store, and it's like, brother, that animal lived in a tremendous amount of trauma on its life.
Yep.
I mean, it was, you could talk about all the different things that went into the quality of that animal's life versus the quality of life that a deer that we killed had. And I mean, we're going to win that ethical debate that wild animal had an incredible life until it was taken by a hunter. And so hiding that brutality that happens at times, very minimal. Of all the animal kills that I've witnessed in my life, a small percentage of them have been like that. And that's just the truth. And it's not the norm. And but I do think a guy's got to have good judgment, and it helps as we continue to broadcast to the world, hey, we need to be savvy about this. We need to be savvy.
I'm still working on this theory, but I've got this theory that ground meat is going to be the downfall of the Western world because it's the first transition from the natural state of things that you would eat into something that does not resemble what it came from. You get what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so like
A little bit.
I grind a lot of deer meat too. Don't get me wrong, I love it. But like I'm going to tell my wife just a little bit. She don't really like to bite into a hunk of steak. She likes ground meat. She doesn't like bones. And I love her to death, and we have two different upbringings.
Oh, you still love her even though that?
I guarantee
so you're a real saint.
Yeah, well, we have to actually appreciate the differences of us and our wives because I don't want to actually be married to Tyler. People just think we are close. You know what I mean? Hairy-legged boys weird me out, right? So, I appreciate some of her, dainty nature, right? But at the same time, there's this thing of like, everybody likes to criticize tofu or vegan diets or whatever, and it's like, hey, this all kind of started back when the first person was like, you know what? Let me take this meat and chop it up real small and make it into something that doesn't look like what it was in the field. So this is still in development, but I kind of feel like the burger patty or the chicken nugget is kind of like that first thing that removes people from the idea that they're not actually taking muscular tissue and breaking it down. It's already done for them. So it's kind of like it's not as real as the original steak.
Are you grind shaming people?
No, like I said, I'm right there.
shame?
But I think that maybe people should have to grind their own meat.
Well, they do when they chew up a steak.
Well, that's true, but I'm saying those people aren't the people who are consuming the ground aren't doing that.
I hear you. I like it.
Here's my full circle moment right here. We're going back to kind of the I don't know, at the genesis of this thing. You started to kind of ask us about how the meat eater thing was going, and I think that if there's one huge benefit to working for Meat Eater, there's a couple, but this is one of major benefits is that the balance that you play with in your mind at all times as a guy who's creating hunting media is like, where is that line? What's the line that I shouldn't show? You know what I mean? So, for instance, with us, early on, we thought, well, we're just going to put out pretty much everything, and we're going to be completely transparent and honest with everything that we video. And then you put out a couple of videos where a deer dies slow, or you may not even recover one that you hit, but you got good footage of it because we're bow hunting and we're 20 yards from these things, and or 30 or whatever. And you end up getting a lot of hate all of a sudden, and then you're like questioning, well, is that the right move? Did I do that right? Should we do it different next time if that happens? If we don't get a good clean kill on a deer, should we not show it? And then you start going, well, if we don't, the income stream that we have at the time starts to fade if we can't get out, a video that month or whatever. I'm just throwing some of this is hypothetical, but it is things that we've dealt with here and there. And you go through these things in your mind, right? And at the end of the day, you're like, man, my kids, I can't even afford to take them out to dinner at all this month, and celebrate a birthday the way I want to or whatever. And you kind of just got all these, it's a bunch of different variables that go on. And I would just say that with the meat eater opportunity that we have, it helps a lot for us to be able to go, okay, what is the most tasteful thing that we should do? What is the best thing for hunting that we can put out? And if we end up, having something happen that doesn't go the way you want it to, which occasionally does go that way, if we're all honest about it, you're able to just say, you know what, let's just not show that because that deer had a huge hole in it or whatever. Like it may have died quick, but maybe it's really gruesome, or whatever. So I don't know. And we're always constantly balancing that thing. We're trying to learn. We're putting out stuff that maybe we shouldn't have. And then we can kind of rescind that in the future when something like that similar happens. So I guess what I'm saying is, a lot of these people that are putting out things that are pretty distasteful to most people, they probably, a lot of them are just trying to survive their brand, make their brand survive, and hopes that they'll be able to make a dollar. And it's all, there's a lot of things to that. So I'm not trying to justify for anybody that's being crude or whatever, but I'm just saying there's a lot of variables in these questions, man.
Yeah. Well, and that would be probably the biggest point that this group that would be talking negatively about the influence of social media and hunting television, or not television, but hunting related media. I think that would be maybe a strong point on their side is that sometimes that kind of stuff happens.
Yeah, but it does, man. It does. But, people get injuries in football too, no matter how many regulations they put on it. I mean, the world has problems, So we just try to do it to the best of our ability. And I guess at the end of the day, like what I was saying is just that it's nice to be able to have the support from Meat Eater to do what we need to do and what's best for the hunting community at all times. It definitely it's a peace of mind as much as anything for us.
Yeah, man. Well, I think the older I get, the more I'm confronted with, we will reap the fruit of the decisions that we're making right now. Mm-hmm. There will come a time when there will be an evaluation on this generation of hunters' lives, just like there's been massive evaluation done on the market hunters, Daniel Boone and Crockett and all these guys. It's like, man, in the moment, what they did made perfect sense, and it's hard to even for them to fathom that they would have had the foresight to know that what they were doing was ultimately leading to massive destruction. But now it's like so easy. Like you don't even have to. You don't even have to convince someone. It's like, yeah, market hunting was really bad. And we can look back at all the generations and find faults with the way that they did things. And one day generations will look back at us and they'll say, what did the people do that started with, the first hunters that encountered social media and YouTube and a global audience? Like, what did they do?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and where's the line between what you believe and what is culturally acceptable and pandering to that? Like that's a hard line to draw. What do you, because as you know, Clay, not everybody believes like you, and there's probably
especially about scent control.
there's a small segment, or whatever, but I guess you have to. That's a thing you have to try to understand better as we go through this, and it's a frontier, right?
Yeah,
what we're at right now.
That's a great point too. And here's the other deal too: is like we're doing the best we can with the information that we have currently, and that stuff changes. It's like you were saying with Boone and them guys. Like market hunting worked then, and you know what? It could have sustained if a ton of other variables went a different direction too. You know what I mean? Like. I get the population in the U.S. is higher at the moment, but like there was a gazillion buffalo on the landscape, and now there's a gazillion cows. So it's like that probably doesn't work. The math doesn't work out perfect, but you get what I'm saying. Is it's like
I think I see what you're saying.
It's not that what they did directly led to some bad stuff, but it's the extenuating circumstances that are beyond the control of the certain individual that actually writes history, right? So, like,
but there has to be a scapegoat.
Yeah,
in every story.
Yeah, that's right. You got to blame somebody.
Sure.
Otherwise, you have to look in the mirror. And that's nobody wants to do that.
I get older and uglier every day.
That's right. Got these gray hairs, man. But it's essentially it's like what you're saying, man. There's a lot of variables, and we just have to do the best that we know to do, and that just be what we focus on.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I think one of there's all kind of bright spots inside of where we're at with wildlife in North America. I mean, incredible bright spots. We talked about how we are in the heyday of whitetail deer hunting, and that doesn't come from me. I was at an event with Kip Adams of the National Deer Association, and I mean, basically that's what he said. I mean, when you look at all the factors and the amount of deer, the number of big deer, the amount of access that people have, it's like we're in the heyday of whitetail deer hunting. I mean, I know, like the bigger deer that I've killed in my life at one time was kind of a big deal, even regionally to me. And today it's like, golly, I mean, 150-inch deer is just like fairly common.
That's what KC said earlier.
To me. and I'm telling you, 20, 25 years ago, they were not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we're in the heyday. There's a lot of really bright spots inside of hunting.
Sure.
There's also a lot of very real existential threats to the long-term sustainability of what we do. And I think that's why we just have to work to show the best side of hunting, to have intelligent arguments for the reason we do things that we do, but also tell the story of the culture of hunting and how this is really a part of who we are as Americans, is the ability to hunt, and we got to tell this human story. And I feel like that's what we're trying to do at Bear Grease is tell the human and cultural story of hunting and its significance.
Yeah.
Aside from and it's like, yeah, there's a lot behind this that's powerful. And I think that carves a space in society. Like someone might be able to listen to some of our stories and understand hunting, maybe like they never have before. Like they understand, okay, now I kind of see why they do that. And I think that's important. But yeah, a lot of threats, but also a lot of bright spots. And
you're one of them, man.
Yeah, man. We are glad that you're leading this ship, man, and we very appreciative to have you as not just a friend, but also somebody that we get to work with towards the same kind of goals, man.
Shoot, man. I appreciate it. I just need to go back hunting with you guys again.
Come on. Hey.
Open invite,
We've
man.
been talking about this a little bit. You got all busy with some interesting stuff you got going on. But
I know.
there's some. Hey, just when you get back in December,
You're gonna be jealous.
You need to talk to us.
You're gonna be
we
jealous.
need to do something.
I'm already jealous. No, I'm not jealous. I don't get jealous. I really
Good.
don't get jealous. I'm when I see somebody's success, I'm pumped for them.
Well, what we need you to do
But I do
is,
wish I could go hunt with you.
Here in Texas, you don't have to put on the wetsuit to swim up on a deer. You actually just wear your Bermuda shorts and go swim up on the deer and shoot them. Fight off the water moccasins,
Man, we're going to close her down here. We've been going for an hour and a half. This has been great. This is longer than most Bear Grease renders, guys.
Sorry about that, man. Long-winded guys around here.
Birds of a
Medium
feather.
people.
No,
medium
it's
humans.
good. It's been good combo.
Yeah.
Been good combo. No, I was you saying water moccasins. I saw a giant rattlesnake that while I was deer hunting the other day up in the mountains. It was pretty cool.
Did you put that on Instagram? I think I saw that the
yeah.
other day. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was awesome.
Big
Timber rattlers are
rattlesnake.
so pretty, man.
They are.
Yeah.
I've had some fun hunts this year, but it's been tough so far. Close us down. Where y'all going next? Where y'all headed next?
Man, that's a great question, Clay. It sounds like you're trying to, write me a citation somewhere.
I
but-
don't want all these people showing up on our public lands,
That's right. That's right. I got some unfinished business up in the North Country. I'm about to go address in a couple days.
Okay.
Up in the plains.
That's as specific as you'll get. Huh?
Yeah, that's right,
The
man.
North Country.
The
Where the
North
Vikings
Country.
live.
Yeah. But man, it's just full bore whitetail from here on out. We're going to pretty much hit about as many states as we can get to, and at some point in time, we're going to be in your home state here this fall. Looking real forward to that. It's a beautiful place. Yeah. Very natural.
Yeah.
Well, good luck to you guys. Man, thanks for being on the Bear Grease Render. And just for everybody out there, if you're looking for some fun stuff, check out all of the Elements YouTube videos. They have their own YouTube channel, but they also, it's kind of confusing. Life's complex and confusing. They also have a series called Buck Truck on the Meat Eater YouTube channel. So you can go back and look for the Buck Truck, and there's like 7 episodes, I think. And one of our episodes is on there, the Arkansas deer hunt that I did with Casey and Tyler last year. Had a great time.
I wanted them to spell it with a W at the end, but they wouldn't let me, man.
Oh, that would have been good. That would have been good.
Yeah.
That's some deep Bear Grease stuff right there.
That's
we did
right.
a whole series on Arkansas with a W.
I know it, man. I appreciate the opportunity to do this, Clay. And we one other thing, if I could just give one more little plug here, is our podcast, the Element Podcast, is a good way to keep up with everything in much more detail about what we're doing. So if you're interested in that, or if you want to hear more about the Arkansas buck truck trip that wasn't in the video, we talk about that on our podcast. So you can check that out over on whatever network you get this one on.
Yeah. And the other cool thing that's going on with Meat Eater YouTube is you can watch all of the Meat Eater Season 12 episodes. So this is Steve Rinella's Meat Eater, the famed show in its 12th season. And I think it's wild that the platform that we're putting that today first is on YouTube. It's wild. It's because it's such a big platform. So there's still 4 people are confused. It's hard to keep track of, but there's 4 seasons of Meat Eater that's still on Netflix. Like season maybe 8, 9, 10, 11, something like that, or so you can go to Netflix and watch it. But the new seasons 11 and 12 are now on the Meat Eater YouTube channel. And those are good, man. Rinella's show is just it's next level. Always has been. Always been my favorite. It'd be hard to top, but so you can check that out. And yeah, well, guys, good luck to y'all.
Thanks,
Kill
man.
a
We're
deer.
going to get after it. I hope you have safe travels this year, man. We'll be talking to you. I'm sure.
Appreciate you, Clay.
Sport Dog is the most recognized brand in the hunting dog training industry. The Sport Dog promise to customers is simple. Gear the way you design it. Every product Sport Dog builds is meticulously designed and rigorously tested in the field, ensuring it withstands the toughest conditions you and your dog may encounter. Using tracking equipment on my squirrel and coon dogs is extremely important to me. Get 20% off your first purchase using the code BEARGREASE. Go to www.sportdog.com/beargrease to learn more.
I'm sure a lot of you guys remember the old ceremonial hunting tradition of eating the heart out of the first animal you killed. Meat from those organs are among the most nutrient-rich foods on the planet. You can get those same benefits your ancestors craved via convenient daily capsules from Heart and Soil. Find out more at heartandsoil.co. And remember, use code MeatEater for 10% off your purchase.